is real peace? First is to remove what destroys the harmony, the wicked. And the second, which is extremely important, is to ensure that everyone plays their designated.
Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rebbe Saf Aharon Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom and bracha. In this week's parsha, we know Korach challenges everything Moshe Rabbeinu is doing. Why are you the leader? Kulanu kedoshim. We're all holy people. Why are you the leader? And he challenges Moshe Rabbeinu. Chazal tell us in Pirkei Avos that a machloikis l'shem shamayim, an argument that's for the sake of heavens. The classic example for that is machloikis beis shamayim beis hillel. However, machloikis that's not l'shem shamayim is the machloikis of Korach and his peoples, Korach ve'adato. Now, that begs a question. Korach's argument was not with his people, was with Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is the Chazal presenting the machloikis of Korach between him and his people? That's question number one. Question number two, it seems very ironic and almost inappropriate at first glance that Pinchas, yes, I know it's not our parsha, but Pinchas is coming up. He did a very extreme act, a violent act, and yet, for that act, he received, quote-unquote, the covenant of peace. So too, on a similar vein, the Kohanim, who came from Aharon, who represented shalom, that's the bracha they give us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bestow upon us peace, shalom, and Aharon, who is the leader of the Kohanim, he was known as Ohev Shalom Rodef Shalom. Yet they also did a very violent act where they actually killed their own brothers and sisters when it came to the Avera of the golden calf, of the Chet HaEgel. So how can these aggressive acts actually create peace? To answer all the above questions, we should first understand and go to the drawing board. What is real peace? Real peace really requires two steps. First is to remove what destroys the harmony, which is the wicked. As Yeshua states, there is no peace for the wicked. And the second phase, which is extremely important, is to ensure that everyone plays their designated role. Pinchas and the Kohanim understood both of these. They first ensured to eliminate the negative, and then allow harmony to penetrate. And actually, this is hinted in the deeper idea of shalom. In Lashon HaKodesh, we know shalom shares its root with shalem, complete, wholesome, shleimus. True peace is achieving completeness. And that happens where there's a harmony, when each person fulfills their roles. And we work together. Doesn't matter who does what. Which makes it very fitting, based on the Chazal and Uktzin, that they tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu found, the Holy One found no vessel that holds blessing for the Jewish people except for peace. Only through this type of wholeness and harmony can we be a kli kibul for the divine shefa and bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This actually brings the idea of achdus of Am Yisrael to a different level. It's this achdus where everyone knows what their role is and doesn't try to step on the other person's boundaries to reach this harmony, this shleimus, the shalom, which will bring bracha to us. This is also why big people, Gdolei Ador, keep telling us, especially during the times of war, how important it is that everyone helps each other and we create this vessel for the bracha to be bestowed upon us. As we mentioned in our question, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos makes a very stark contrast between the machlokas of Hillel and Shammai, that they argue l'shem shamayim, seeking for the truth, as opposed to Korach and Adato, Korach and his congregation, that they weren't looking for the truth. They were ego-driven. But as we mentioned before, the question begs itself, why don't Chazal just call that machlokes between Korach and Moshe Rabbeinu? Korach was challenging Moshe Rabbeinu, not his own people. But based on the Gemara in Bachos, Daf Nun Vav Amud Beis, we can understand perhaps the answer to what Chazal were hinting to us by calling it an argument between Korach and his people. The Gemara says that there is three ideas that a person if a person sees in his dream, then it means that they're probably going to be, there are symbols of shalom. One is pot. And what's the uniqueness of the pot? the pot unifies between fire and water, even though it takes a hit itself because he has to absorb the fire. But it unites between the fire and the water. That screams out a counter to lust, a counter of being self-focused and just caring about your own self. The second idea that it symbolizes peace is river, which if you think about it, a river is beautiful within boundaries. However, it can get destructive when overflowing. That counters the idea of jealousy, always wanting more and more. And the third symbol of peace, of shalom, is the bird. The bird is very flexible. It makes room for others. The second someone comes near it, it flies away. That counters haughtiness, the idea of feeling that one needs control all the time. Perhaps this is exactly what Chazal are hinting to us in the idea of Vayikach Korach. He took himself out of the orchestra. He took himself out of the klal. And that's why it's Vayikach Korach. It wasn't even about an argument with Moshe Rabbeinu. He only cared about himself to a certain extent. He was consumed by all these three traits that we're saying that destroy the collective shleimus of Klal Yisrael. Mimele, b'siyata dishmaya, we managed to answer the two main questions we had. How can it be that shalom requires sometimes aggressive actions? Yes, because you have to uproot the evil that messes up the harmony in order to ensure the harmony flows well, which is what shalom is all about. And how does that work? With everyone does not care about their ego, but rather cares about Klal Yisrael, and they do their tafkid. That in itself achieves shalom, shleimus, peace, which is the ultimate way we can get bracha bestowed upon us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This idea is also screamed out by Chazal, telling us what in the plague of Barad, the fire and water made peace between themselves, even though they're opposites, but they were willing to work together to do Ritzon Hashem, which is again the idea of shalom. I would like to end with the following story. It's based on a restaurant a friend of mine started a while back. I changed the names because I don't think he wants people to know exactly what this is, and I also fabricated a little bit of the details. Moshe's restaurant, which I'm calling, it wasn't the real name, Harmony, was packed every night. He did everything himself, and yes, I know this person, he tried to do everything himself. The chef, the floor manager, the person in charge of the wines, because he always believed that nobody can take care of a place like an owner. I saw him in action. He was running from room to room, from the kitchen to the chef, etc. Motzei Shabbos brought 3 large parties and a food critic at the same time. But the real crisis that he absorbed, or potentially absorbed, we'll call him my friend Mordechai, was the ambitious new chef that he brought to be part of the team. However, my friend Mordechai realized already that this chef was undermining my friend's control, even though my friend was the owner, and he's been feeling this for a while. And my friend told him, "Chef, let me handle, I'll decide what the first course is, second course, etc." But the chef said, no, I think this is better in my old restaurant, and he kept going on. This chef told my friend, no, you're the owner, relax, you should be chilling out with the guests. My friend realized he's faced with a very serious choice at the time. This is what he told me. I wasn't at the restaurant at the time, of course, but this is what he told me. He was faced with a decision that was a game changer in his life. Should I fight for control? But then I'll have no choice. The service will collapse. I'll lose my chef. Or should I surrender this kitchen and the way things are working to this chef that thinks he knows it all? But then he had an inner voice saying, for things to work out, we have to remove the bad in here. There's something bad that's just not going to make it work. And at that instant, my friend made the call. He told the chef, you're fired. Clear out now. The chef laughed it off. In the middle of now, what's happening? Look what's happening. You'll crash without me? That's what you want? My friend said, we'll manage. We'll manage. And then he turned to his team and he said, Be'ezer Hashem, let's do this together. We could do it. Indeed, the chef left. And as my friend told me, the kitchen suddenly fell into place. And what I mean by that, he said everything moved into a synchronized motion. and everyone was in charge of something else. They decided who's going to be in charge of what. Everyone was very focused with their task. And at the end of the day, lived up to this idea of working in harmony, which is what we said is true shalom is all about. I think at the end he got a very positive critique, and he actually framed it in the kitchen, and he realized how important it is to work in harmony. Mirza Hashem will take this idea, especially now that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is orchestrating it with the help of a lot of people during their tasks, being at the soldiers, being people learning, saying Tehillim, doing their best to help each one of Klal Yisrael, which many are in times of need. And through those merits, will be zeiche to have harmony and shalom, and hence be a kli kibul for the shefa and bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Have a good Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of The Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on The Prism of Torah.